the attention which is given during that period of time is much more than what can be managed in open line. Now, the basic premise is if the attention given in the workshops is good or it is at a higher level, then the open lines would face lesser level of problems because they don't have that much of time to attend to those repairs. If the maintenance which is being done in the workshops is not up to that quality, then the open lines will keep on having recurrent problems. Now, the workshops can be workshops dedicated to locomotive POH activities, coaches POH activities, or wagon POH activities, or it can be a mix. So, for example, Pratap Nagar workshop is a workshop which is dedicated to wagon repairs. You go to Secunderabad, the Lalagoda workshop is a workshop designed for coaches. Vijayawada, which is Ryan Padu, is designed for wagons. It can be a mixed workshop. You go to Charbagh in Lucknow, you will find they do coaches, they also do POH of the electrical locomotives, the POH of demos or EMUs also. So the workshops can be mixed or workshops can be specific, dedicated to a type of a rolling stock. There is a workshop, say Parel, which was dedicated only for POH activities of breakdown cranes. Now the workshops are the places which also use a large level of MNP. So that is why I have written here MNP separately. They use MNP for their own use, and they also provide support for MNP maintenance for the adjoining division if it is there. So we do periodic overhaul and midlife rehabilitation in these workshops. The workshops at the zonal level are headed by a person called CWE, or the Chief Workshop Engineer. If you remember the headquarters structure which we had discussed, so there is a gentleman called PCME who is the head of the mechanical department. Under him, there is one gentleman called CWE, or the Chief Workshop Engineer. So say for example, Western Railway has a workshop at Pratap Nagar, there is a workshop at Bhavnagar, there is a workshop in Parel. So all these three workshops are coordinated by the CWE, the Chief Workshop Engineer, who is sitting in the headquarters. Their day-to-day maintenance activities, any material support is required, any policy decision is required would be given by the CWE. At the workshop level, the head of the workshop is a CWM. So there would be a Chief Workshop Manager at Pratap Nagar. There would be a Chief Workshop Manager in Bhavnagar. He is the man who is the head of the workshop at the workshop level. Now, the Chief Workshop Manager in turn has large number of officers who are supporting him. So there may be a Deputy CME production. If it is a crane workshop, a Deputy CME crane, Deputy CME MNP. It's a diesel workshop, Deputy CME diesel. Deputy CMM depot. The workshops have used large amount of material and they generate a lot of scrap. So you will find that major workshops are attached with stores depots. There would be a deputy FNCO who would be doing the costing operations in the workshops, looking after the pay sheets, PF ledger balances of the people who are involved in the workshops. There would be an organization called Deputy CCMT. This is a chemist and metallurgist organization. These are labs which are attached to the workshops. So, for example, if the ultrasonic testing in that division is being done, so this organization would be doing it. Any failure component analysis is to be done, this organization would be doing it. There may be a deputy CPO who will be looking after the staff activities in the workshop, and ASC. You see, workshops are places where there are huge setups spread out, say, in 40-50 hectares, and congregation of people. There would be, say, 3,000 people working in the workshops. And the workshops are places where large amount of material in and material out keeps on happening. So the workshops have conventionally been provided with RPF staff to prevent all these activities of theft which may occur in these workshops. Now the workshops have also been started providing with AENs. So in practicality, the CWM has a large number of people from different branches who are placed along with him to help him in running the operations in the workshops. Also, I told you that there are 3,000 or 4,000 people at a specific place. Now, tackling 3,000 people, 4,000 people, because of the congregation of a large number of people becomes tricky. So workshops are also considered to be hotbeds for union activities, and you will find that major leaders of Indian Railways from the unions which have come out they draw their legacies to one workshop or the other. And they also have well-defined own structure. So there would be a divisional secretary, there would be a zonal president in the unions also. And when you enter in the workshops, you will find 2 offices or 3 offices of the recognized unions outside the workshops. So this is what the CWE does. The CWM is the in charge of the workshop, and these number of these basic activities keep on happening in the workshops. They may be repairs, manufacturing, MNP maintenance, production control, support staff of stores, electrical accounts, personnel. So CWM is generally a big man. CWM is conventionally an SAG grade post, and you will find that large amount of activities are happening in the workshops, and different departments are assisting him. So there may be a deputy CEE who's posted in the workshop, and besides the general lighting, for example, in Charbagh workshop, if the electrical loco maintenance is being done, he would be given some assured some work of the electrical loco maintenance also. The personal works which are done by the personal department, all establishment related matters. Chemist and Metallurgical Testing Organization. This is a subsection of the mechanical department only, and this is a separate cadre per se. So there would be a CMT cadre across all the workshops. Not all workshops would have CMT organizations, but the major workshops would have CMT organizations. There would be an accounts department, basically looking after the pay related issues of the people there, and also doing the costing activities in the workshops. Stores organization taking care of the material input, scrap sales which happens in the workshops. Union activities are, as I told you, they are hotbeds of union activities. Now workshop is divided into small shops. So let us take an example of Pratapnagar workshop again, which is a wagon repair workshop. When you enter Pratapnagar workshop, you will find that there are large number of small shops. So for example, if a wagon comes in, there may be a body repair shop, a shop which is only attending to the body repair. There may be a bogie shop, which is only attending to the bogie repairs. There is an air brake shop, which is attending to the air brake components. There is a cartridge roller bearing shop, which is attending to the axle boxes. There is one MNP shop, which is attending to the MNP, which is available in the workshop itself, or some small process of machining which is required to be done. So the whole workshop is divided into small shops, and each shop is headed by a senior supervisor or a senior section engineer who is supported with junior engineers, artisan staff, khalasis under him. And the day-to-day maintenance of that shop has to be run by that specific shop, has to be run by that senior supervisor. Again, the shops also are numbered because we have to attribute costs of activities which are happening in that specific shop to that shop only. These are the various categories of staff which is available. So you have unskilled artisan grades, which is basically khalasis, grade 3 fitter, grade 2 fitter, grade 1 fitter, master craftsman, supervisory staff. So every shop inside the main workshop would have this structure of people. Now all the workshops are covered under a scheme called incentive scheme. This scheme was launched in the Indian Railways with a promise. What it promises is that the staff in the workshop is promised their basic wages, and it is said that if you improve your productivity, if you give us more outcome than what is stipulated, we'll give you some incentive. We'll give you some incentive, and all the workers are classified for earning that incentive. So we have direct workers who get 100% incentive. We have essentially indirect workers who get some percentage of that incentive, and there are indirect workers who get no incentive at all. Say, for example, khalasis who are doing cleaning activities. Now, in a workshop, incentive is calculated based on the time saved. For example, if I have said that a component has to be manufactured in 2 hours, and the person is able to manufacture the component in 1.5 hours, then he is saving that 30 minutes. These 30 minutes are called incentive hours, and these hours are converted into money. So in a workshop under the incentive scheme, the worker gets money equivalent to the amount of the time which he is saving. The workshop would have something called a production control organization or a PCO, which is the most important section, and it is controlled by the production engineer or the deputy CME production. He is the man who is primarily responsible for ensuring that the production activities are happening in the workshop. There would be an MNP section basically looking after the MNP maintenance, and the balance whole workshop is divided into various shops which are controlled by individual senior section engineers. All the workshops are codified. This we just saw in the wagon PPT also. There is an organization called COFMO, Central Organization for Modernization of Workshops, which was set up in Delhi. The basic concept was that we wanted to modernize all our workshops. So a separate entity was created to give this input. Over a period of time, all the workshops have got modernized. So this entity has diversified into procurement of MNP, because procurement of MNP is also very tricky business, and we wanted an organization who was competent to purchase MNP for use of Indian Railways. So COFMO was given this task of procuring MNP for the Indian Railways. Now, PCO, I told you, is one of the most important sections in the workshops, and the production engineer is responsible for the PCO. And these are some of the sections which are covered under the PCO organization. So there is a progress office, there is a planning office, there is an inspection office. Let us take an example that one Pratapnagar workshop has been told that you have to manufacture a design of 100 tables, a design of a table and 100 numbers of that table. So once that demand has come on Pratapnagar workshop, what the PCO would do, they will make a drawing. So the workshops have drawing staff attached with them. They'll make a drawing, they'll make the specifications of the material which is required, and they'll issue this drawing. Once this drawing is issued, they will establish that in shop 1, the 4 legs of the table would be made. In shop 2, the table would be assembled. In shop 3, the table would be machined and painted. So they issue something called a route card or a job card. In the job card, it is indicated that to manufacture this component, what route it is going to follow, in which shop what activity would be done. So they have laid down the route. Besides the route, they will also establish what is the time which is required to do each and every activity. So for example, in shop 1, they have said that you have to manufacture 4 legs, and they'll say that we'll give you 2 hours for this. In shop 2, when it is going for assembly, we'll give you 1 hour for this. In shop 3, when it is going for machining and inspection, we'll give you half an hour for this activity. So they will establish a time. Now, this time is established either heuristically, in the sense that they know from past history as to what is the time which is required for a similar activity from the past. So they'll pick up that time, or we will fix a synthetic time. So we'll fix an artificial time depending upon the level of knowledge which is available as of now. Over a period of time, that time may reduce or time may increase, which is required. So I'll introduce something called a synthetic time in the route card, and I'll say this is the time which is given. And I order the shop now that you start manufacturing this component. So the drawing office has given you the drawing office has given you the specification. Shop 1 has been told that at this machine, you are supposed to manufacture these many legs. So that shop 1 will go draw the material and start machining it. He will say that this much time is required, given to you. Once you finish this, send the equipment to shop 2. So this is the process how a production happens. And one major activity which is done is called time study. You see what happens when I have fixed a time, and I told you that time is money in the workshops because it is used to calculate incentives. I keep on doing time studies to establish whether the time which I had given is too lax or too tight. If I find that every worker is booking 100% incentive, that means he is making the component in much lesser time. That means the initial time which I had given is very, very lax. Then I will tighten up that time, or I may find that more time is required. So these are called efficiency studies, and there is a dedicated team of time study inspectors which is available in the workshop who keeps on doing these time studies. And the progress office is the set of people who are chasing this work regularly. So there would be one team who would be saying that whether shop 1 has made the material 2 times and whether they have sent it to shop 2, whether shop 2 has made it and sent it to shop 3, whether shop 3 has finished the work and the inspection is over and the material is offered to the person who wanted that item. So this is how the PCO organization keeps on working in the workshop and ensures that we have the best utilization of the men, the machine and the material which is available with us, so that the productivity and the outcome of the workshop is maintained. So he basically ensures best use of men, machine and material. These are the main functions of the progress office. Issues a card number, specifies a date of completion, pre-planning activities, studies, drawing and specifications, drawing office activities where he is issuing the drawing, planning activities, composition of activities where he is fixing rate, where he is fixing time, where he is doing synthetic time he is fixed, then he does efficiency studies to establish whether the time he is fixed is okay or not. So these are broadly the activities which are happening in the PCO. Then the next section, which is an important section, is the MNP section. In this section, basically, he looks after the procurement of all the MNP which is required in the workshop. We procure machinery in Indian Railways through a program called MNP program. And this section would be placing the demands under the MNP program. We also have a section called millwright section. It's a name conventionally given to a section because they are involved daily in the maintenance of the MNP activities. It is thought their competence level is higher. So assuming in an associate bridge shop or in an electric loco shed, the overhead crane has gone under repair. So they will request the closest workshop, the millwright section of the closest workshop, that look, you send me your millwright staff to attend to my EOT crane. Plus the shop floor activities where the SSCs are managing on a daily basis as to the day-to-day operations, what is the day-to-day outturn which needs to be given, whether the quality of the outturn is proper, control over staff and draw of materials, etc. Now each workshop, when you enter a workshop, you will find there is a time office. Time office is where the attendance of the staff is maintained. So they are supposed to punch in a card and punch out a card. We have tried to automate it by using biometrics, but this concept has not been very much liked by people, because once you have to go in for biometric attendance, you have to be available in the workshops. So Pratap Nagar is one workshop who has been successful in implementing biometrics at all the 4 times of the day. This is a step in workshops when you're dealing with 3,000 people. Any decision, you have to take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. It's an activity in process. Some workshops have come up to the level where they have said that at least you do biometrics at the morning time of the day. Now, I told you that all the workshops get incentive. The maximum incentive that can be given is 50%. Incentive is in terms of money. All the workshops are covered under an incentive scheme, and a worker can earn maximum incentive of only 50%. This was the logic as to why the incentive scheme was launched over Indian Railways. The workshops were said that you increase your productivity, we will not give you additional manpower, but you start giving me more output. The worker has the benefit that if he works slightly better, he gets more money. The basic logic in incentive scheme is that his basic wages are assured. So if his basic wages will always be assured, if his productivity improves, he starts earning more money in terms of incentives. Now there are 2 types of incentive schemes which are there over Indian Railways. One is called the Chetranjan type incentive scheme, and second is called the group based incentive scheme. Chetranjan based incentive scheme was the first scheme which was launched in 1960s in Chetranjan, and basically again the principle is time. So there is something called allowed time. We have a method by which we fix an allowed time, and we see what is the time taken, and the time saved is what gets converted into incentive. Now, what happens in the workshops? The misuse happens while fixing the allowed time. So you have to keep a watch on the allowed time which has been fixed for an activity. Say, for example, I had given 4 hours for an activity where 4 buffers needed to be dropped. They had to be overhauled and they had to be refitted back. Over a period of time, this activity got changed, and I am now getting overall buffers from the market. I simply have to drop and fit. So the time required for the overhauling which I was doing earlier should logically be removed from the allowed time. But with connivance, I have not removed it from the allowed time. So what will happen? The people who were doing this activity are still saving, they have started saving more time and they can book it against incentive only. So you continuously keep a watch on what is the allowed time. And this is the place where such connivance happens. The Chitranjan scheme was the first formal scheme, and here the Chitranjan scheme watches the, it is an individual based scheme. So for example, if in that example of shop 1, shop 2, shop 3, if shop 1 fellow is saving a lot of time and Chitranjan scheme is applicable, then he is earning money. The item has gone to shop 2, the shop 2 fellow is not saving incentive, is not saving time. So what will happen? In totality, even though I have ended up paying incentive, the outcome or the productivity of the workshop as a whole has not improved. So because of that, a group incentive scheme was launched where it was said that we pay you incentive only when as a group the outcome improves. So in this case, in the Chitranjan pattern, if shop 1 fellow is doing a good job, he will earn incentive independent of what the shop 2 or the shop 3 fellow is doing. In the group incentive pattern, unless and until shop 1, shop 2, shop 3 fellows as a group have improved the productivity, then only they will earn incentive, otherwise they will not earn incentive. Now, allowed time when we are giving for a component is fixed in such a pattern that an average good worker will end up getting 33 1 by 3% of the incentive. So the allowed time has that much of gap that if an average worker is working, he and if he is using that allowed time, he will be able to earn 33 1 by 3%. In the process, when we fix allowed time, there are some allowances which are given. The allowances can be fatigue allowances, general handling allowances, gauging allowances, and he is also given a flexibility to book idle time. If he is idling for non-availability of tools, or there is a power cut, or the machine has breakdown, he can book idle time also. So the worker is not penalized in any pattern that so that he is not able to earn incentive. Now, this is the group incentive scheme which was introduced in the following workshops made after by a study of rights, and subsequently now this group incentive scheme is what has been implemented in all the workshops. This is a worked example as to how we fix the allowed time. So assuming the component normal time taken should be 1 hour, we'll introduce some percentages for fatigue, some percentages for contingency. Bonus, that means this is the incentive which has already been built in. Gauging on the job, this is the gauging activity which is being done. And the allowed time for this job is say 1.734 hours. We know that with this allowed time, an average worker would be able to finish it in 3/4 of the time. And he would be able to save 0.433 hours, so that his average incentive earning would be 33 1 by 3%. If he is a good worker, he can save more time, but the maximum limit of time saving permitted is 50%. We do not pay more than 50% of incentive. So this is the worked example from which you can get an idea as to how we fix the time so that an average worker will always will end up earning 33 1 by 3% of the money as incentive. Now the factories are also covered, the workshops are covered under the Factories Act. The Factory Act stipulates that the CWM is the principal occupier of that factory. So if any unusual happens inside the factory, the CWM is directly responsible. For example, a Rainpadu workshop in the Vijayawada, a compressor burst and 2 people died. So the factory inspector of the state gave a legal notice to the CWM saying that why action should not be taken against you as an individual because you are the principal occupier of this premise and such an unsafe operation has happened in your premises. So under the Factories Act, the CWM is the occupier of the factory or the principal employer of the factory. Also in the workshops, we do costing of the components. And for example, again taking an example of that table, there is direct material and direct labor costs. Beyond that, there are some overhead costs or called as on costs. You will see that a table which is costing outside in the market 1,000 rupees, if you manufacture it in a railway workshop, it is priced at 1,700 rupees. So that 700 rupees is overheads, and there are various overhead costs which come into play. Because of the high overhead costs, the workshops also keep on doing something called a decision of make or buy. Whether we should manufacture it in-house or whether it is better to buy it from outside. This make or buy decision is more predominantly taken in production units, and that is one of the methods by which we have been able to increase our productions also, where we have said that we will go in more for buy rather than make. Now, this is a fine mix because you have to keep in mind that the people who are available in the workshop also need to be loaded with work. If you don't give them work, they will not end up earning incentive, and then there would be a lot of hue and cry. So what are the components of these on costs or overhead costs? So the first component is called as the pro forma on cost, second is general on cost, and third is shop on cost. Now what is pro forma on cost? Pro forma on cost is a generic cost. For example, in Western Railway, I told you there are 3 workshops and there is a CWE organization which is sitting in the headquarters. Now, the CWE organization is comprising of 100 people or 60 people. It's a cost which is being incurred for maintenance of these workshops only. So, a percentage on the direct labor and the direct material would be marked up on every item, which are equivalent to the cost of this CWE's setup, which is there in the headquarters. So that is called pro forma on cost. Second type of cost is general on cost. Say, for example, in Pratapnagar workshop, you have a centralized air compressor and you are using pneumatic air through pipelines to individual shops. Now that pneumatic air is being used for manufacturing of the components or repair to the components, and you are not able to earmark as to which specific activity you have consumed how much of air. So the costs of these kinds, which cannot be attributed to a specific component but have been used across the workshop level, are called general on cost. And again, as a percentage in direct labor and direct material, we will upmark the basic cost with general on cost. Now come to a specific shop. Say for example, there is a bogie shop and there is an electric overhead crane which has been used for lifting and lowering of components. You cannot attribute the cost of that EOT crane's operation to a specific component. So then you have a percentage of shop on cost where for such equipments which have been used across the components in that specific shop, you will you will load some costing on the direct material and direct labor for the manufacture of that component. So these are 3 elements of costs or overheads which increase the cost of a component which is manufactured in the workshop, and in totality it is called overheads. Because our productivity is slightly low, you will find that the overhead cost is high, and that is why a table which may be costing 1,000 rupees outside would end up costing 1,500 rupees in a workshop. Now, besides workshops, we have production units. So we have number of production units: CLW, DLW, ICF, MCF, RCF, and these production units are involved in manufacturing activities. Now, how do these production units know that what all are they supposed to manufacture and what all should they be prepared to manufacture in the next 1 year or 2 years time? The lead time of procurement of material over Indian Railways is a long drawn process because first of all, the market, there is no ready availability of the components, some kinds of components which are specifically used for Indian Railways. So market also needs time to manufacture those components. So, for example, this is a production plan which has been issued for coach manufacture for the year 1920. Similarly, the production plan would be issued in advance for 2 years. ICF would be having a production plan of 2021, 21, 22, 22, 23. The lead time of procurement may vary from 18 months to 30 months, depending upon it is imported item, it is Indian item, the time of manufacture, the time of supply. And this production plan has told ICF that look, in this year you are supposed to manufacture 48 LWFAC, that means 48 LHB coaches of first AC design. You're supposed to manufacture 343 LS Deen Dayalu pattern. So this is an example. In totality, you are supposed to manufacture 40 to 38 coaches. So this is a production plan which is issued to the production units in advance, preferably for the next 3 years projections are given. Subsequently, the variations, the revisions keep on coming. Like in this case, this is a revised production plan for 1920. So revisions keep on coming. But initially, tentatively, a figure is given to these production units that this is your plan for the next 3 years or 4 years or 2 years. You should be in readiness to manufacture so many coaches or so many locomotives. Please plan for material. If any input in the production line needs to be given, for example, we need to set up a spring cracking testing machine. Please make provision and set up that spring cracking machine well in advance. So this is an activity. The production programs are issued for the views. The workshops are issued targets. So for example, Pratapnagar workshop has been given a target that you are supposed to do POH activity for 250 BCN wagons per annum. So he has to upgrade his facilities for doing the POH activities for those 250 BCN wagons from next year or say this year. For that, if he needs material to be procured, he needs some hiring out of welding facilities. If he needs to do, he has to put it in place. And his performance, the workshop's performance is monitored against the outturn which he is giving. The workshops gets the feed from the zonal railways. Like I told you that the freight train has come, it is standing in Baroda yard for examination, and the TXR finds that 5 BCN wagons are due for POH activity. He will detach those 5 POH wagons from these 5 wagons from the rake, and he will book these 5 wagons for POH to Pratapnagar workshop. Now, these 5 wagons can be of any zone, can be of any number. At the end plate, he will go and see whether the wagon is due for POH. He will simply detach that wagon and he will send it for POH to Pratapnagar workshop. Pratapnagar workshop knows that I have been given a time period of 10 to 15 days for doing a POH activity on this wagon. He will finish that POH activity on that wagon and he'll dispatch it back to the Baroda yard for use on the freight trains. Now, during this period, when he has detached the wagon, it is waiting to go into the workshop for POH activity. It is inside the workshop for POH activity, is called as ineffective period. And then this starts getting counted against the 4% figure which is there for the zone. And the TXR control in the divisional level would be knowing which wagon is waiting there, and he would be calculating that ineffective percentage on a daily basis to ensure that his ineffective percentage does not increase beyond 4%. So his work would be, the TXR control in the headquarters would be, or the divisional controls work would be that once the TXR in the yard has detached these 4 wagons, he should ensure that these 4 wagons come from the yard to the Pratapnagar workshop. Once they enter the Pratapnagar workshop, the CWM will take over those wagons and he'll start repairing those wagons and he'll dispatch those wagons from Pratapnagar workshop. Then the TXR controls work is to ensure that these wagons go from Pratapnagar workshop back to the yard. And once they go to the yard, the train examiner will connect it to the train as and when the demand arises from the traffic department. So this ends workshop also. I'll share this PPT. If there are any questions in the chat, I will address them. Who heads the traction machine workshops? There would be a CWM again. CWM not necessarily can be of mechanical. It's a mechanical workshop. There would be a CWM from mechanical. If it's an electrical workshop, there would a CWM would be from electrical. If it is a bridge workshop, there would be a CWM from engineering department. What is the basic difference between mechanical and electrical workshop? Not much of a basic difference. Only thing is, conventionally till now, the mechanical workshops were dealing with coaches, wagons, and diesel locomotives. For example, Mahalakshmi is an electrical workshop. So the CWM is an electrical officer. He is dealing more with EMUs, MEMUs, maintenance of EMUs and MEMUs. So that is only the, otherwise an EMU also would come and would be attended to the same level which a coach, if it is coming to a mechanical workshop, would be coming and getting attended to. Only difference is Mahalakshmi would have more sections which are dedicated to transformers and traction motors as compared to a coaching workshop which may have more sections dedicated to air brake and bogie stop. Otherwise, the structure and the working in the workshops would be more or less similar. Does workshop run 24 by 7? It depends on the workload. You see what happens if the work is more, it is a heavily loaded workshop, it will run 24 by 7 in 3 shifts.